2005 4A state runner-up Grand Junction against the 3A state champion from 1997, the Palisade Bulldogs. And with us right now on the Chick-fil-A Breakfast Team phone line, he toe to the rock for that 2005 Grand Junction Tigers team that had the chance to be the first team, or one of the first teams, along with their opponent Thunder Ridge, to play the state championship game at then Invesco Field at Mile High. Kris Means joins us. Kris, I appreciate the time. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Jim?
Doing well. Let's go back to 2005, because what a great season for your football team. You guys go all undefeated all the way up to the state title game, where you ran into a really, really good Thunder Ridge football team that went on for the 51-21 victory. But let's talk about the majority of that season, though, because you had an explosive offense, certainly with Isaiah Quigley at quarterback, Justin Murray, Shea Starr at the receiver positions. You carrying the football for that football team. You had over 1,000 yards rushing that season. That was a team that had such great aerial weapons. But, boy, you were such a big threat carrying the football. Big, bruising running back that made it tough on the opposition when the Tigers went to the ground game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun because you never really knew what we were going to do. It was kind of interesting. You know, you could sit there and load the box, and then we would run bubble screens and run our passing game at you. And then you could sit back and, a nickel coverage and keep 5-6 in the box, and then we could easily run all over you. And an underrated part of Isaiah's game was his ability to run the ball. I mean, we ran that zone read and speed option, and there's many times where he'd keep the ball and he'd be able to easily get 20, 30 yards, or he'd fake pitch on a speed option, and we were scrambling down the field too. So I mean, it wasn't just me. Quigley was a pretty solid runner as well, and then Mark Novotny would come be able to motion in the background and do all backfield and do all sorts of cool stuff as well, till he was injured that year. But it was a lot of fun because we could just do all sorts of different things. So
Kris Means, who played running back for the 2005 state runner-up Grand Junction Tigers football team, give me a couple of memories for you, Kris, personally, of games that you really enjoyed that year, games that you had, maybe a moment with a touchdown run or a big play that you made that helped you guys have that kind of season where you're able to get to the state title game.
I always remember one of the top ones is that when we kind of knew, like, we coming into summer and stuff, we did all the goals. We sat there and we built a wooden triangle. We, put a picture of Mile High Stadium on every weight room rack. So when you were squatting, you were looking at, all those kind of things. But we really bought into those. And so we thought we had a chance to be good. But I remember the first play of the season, we were taking the maiden voyage of the white bus, week 0. It breaks down into Beck Canyon. We're like, oh, geez, our helmet decals hadn't come in yet, so we're wearing just plain silver helmets. And we're going over to play Arvada, so we're kind of like, oh, my goodness, this is just stacked against us. And the first play of the game, I think they were thinking the game plan was for me to run the ball because there was like 9 guys in the box. And we're sitting there in doubles, and we look over and no one has covered Mark Novotny, and Quigley just looks at me and I'm like, oh, okay. He checks the bubble, throws the bubble, and I do my fake handoff and I go running out there. Our center, Justin Reed, he pulls, and we run a bubble screen, and you see the running back in the center running down the sideline with the dude with the ball for the first play of the game for a touchdown. And that's when I'm like, okay, we might have a shot to do this. And then I think in that game we picked off a fumble, or we had an interception for a touchdown or fumble for a touchdown. I can't remember. And then by the time our offense did it again, we scored on again, and I think it was 21-0 about 3 minutes into the game. So that was when we were like, okay, we might have something here. And then the second best memory that I have from a team-wise is just playing against Loveland. That was our only home game. It was our homecoming game that year. And they were coming in ranked, I think, 6, and we were 5. And they were talking all sorts of crap. And I remember the really good Kansas State quarterback, Colin Klein, was on that team. And they were coming in, and talking a big game. And we just were able to beat them. And I remember Mark Novotny got cheap-shotted in that game. And I was just so angry. I just told Isaiah, I was like, you give me the ball. I don't care. And I remember I had a 40-yard touchdown run on that play after he got cheap-shotted. I was just so mad. But that was the other good team memory I have. And, of course, the last one is I was actually the first one on our team to score in that state championship game. So I got to say I scored a touchdown on Mile High Stadium as a high school kid, which was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. I remember getting the chance to call that game, call that touchdown that you had in that loss to Thunder Ridge. The 46-0 win to start the season against Arvada. And like you said, you guys went out, Colin Klein, and went on to play Kansas State. You guys handled Loveland 44-7 and route to an undefeated season, Southwestern Conference title, and then a spot in the 4A title game. You mentioned the touchdown that you had, Kris, in the state title game against Thunder Ridge. What was that feeling like for you and your teammates to walk on the field at then Invesco Field knowing, hey, this is where the Broncos play? How long did it take you to get that out of your head when you walked on the field that day?
For me, it was pretty quick because I'd been pretty fortunate and blessed to be able to go to these camps and go to these things and get recruited and be at Iowa State and CU at Folsom Field and go see all these different places, Lubick Field and all those things at Colorado State. So I've been into some pretty big stadiums, so I was able to kind of put aside. But I know a lot of guys on our team, it probably took them about a quarter to kind of settle down. And we got to get there the day before and tour the stadium and stuff. But it was definitely kind of a shell shock, I think, for a lot of guys too. I was like, hey, we're here. I mean, traveling so far, Thunder Ridge, gets to see it all the time and stuff. And so I have a feeling that they were a little more at ease, and they were a great football team. I had a lot of friends on that Thunder Ridge football team. Kyle Black, their quarterback, and Moats, and Nick Lind, and I was actually friends with all those guys. So I knew against that team, if you don't come out quick, they were going to be able to get on top of you, and that's what they did. I still think, I know Coach Marsh thinks it too, that very first play of the game that goes off Murray's fingertips, I think it's a different ball game if he gets that. And I also firmly believe, I know he can't change things, but Martin Novotny got hurt that year, and I think if we have him, I think it's a lot different kind of football game, but it is what it is.
I agree. I think those were things that played a big role, like the chance early on to score in a big play to Justin Murray just unfortunately couldn't make the play. But I think it definitely kind of set the tone for that football game. And, of course, you're getting ready, hopefully getting ready for the start of a high school football season out at Central, Kris. So on the staff out there with Brandon Melholland. So, Kris, I appreciate the time.